Hello and welcome to the first episode of MLB Offseason, MLB Offseason Heat. So this is going to be a weekly podcast, specifically this one for the offseason, but I'll be doing obviously one per week throughout the regular season, kind of like the offseason. Just in the regular season, I'll probably do it in the day. Offseason, obviously, more time at night. So this is the first of hopefully many of these podcasts. So we'll get started here. We have four categories to talk about, and then obviously some time at the end for chats if I have any. Um, so we'll get started. So first things first, Suzuki's down to 3. All right, so we knew that Roki Sasaki was kind of getting close. That he was getting down there with the teams. It was reported yesterday that the Giants were eliminated, then the Yankees, and then some other teams were also eliminated there. So, where's Sasaki going? So, Jeff Passan reported last night that the finalists for the Japanese star were the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Blue Jays. This should come to no surprise to anyone that, two of these three teams. I did not expect the Blue Jays to be on this list at all. They kind of, according to Ken Rosenthal, they kind of snuck in there last week, got a last minute meeting, and he was impressed. So, he took more and more interviews with them. Cool. So now they're on the list. I guess he did go to Toronto already. Not Ken Rosenthal, Buster Only, said just before I came on air that he went to Toronto, and we know he went to San Diego. So it was reported that he went this
with
video,
the boys. There's AJ.
and it looks like it's Sasaki pitching with some players. Jay Cronenworth was identified. There was another one. Joe Musgrove was identified. It looked like he's throwing a bullpen in full Dodger gear. So this came from Fabian, who covers the Dodgers, is their beat reporter for The Athletic. So today, they had a meeting with him. Today, Sasaki met with the Dodgers. It came out that I guess he's very soft-spoken, might not want to pitch in a big market. So I'm going to say it again. I wrote today in my Substack column. If you don't follow me, be sure to follow me. Give me a follow on Substack. It's in the link on my personal Twitter, which is the handle is right there for both. I wrote today, I think he goes to the Padres. I don't think he's going to the Dodgers. I think it's a foregone conclusion that everyone thinks he's going to LA. And if you remember at the beginning of the offseason, his agent Jim Wolf came out and said, it's not a foregone conclusion that he goes to LA. We're going to do a thorough process. That doesn't mean he's not going there. Obviously, they're a finalist. But I don't think he's going to go there. I think he wants to pitch in San Diego. It was noted he liked the community there. He had dinner hosted by Yu Darvish and Manny Machado, and everyone was happy and everyone had fun. So it seems like this is the move for Roki Sasaki. And if he doesn't want to pitch in a big market, but he still wants to pitch in a place that is going to give him the opportunity to win, it's the Padres. They're the perfect team for him. It's like peanut butter and jelly. They're perfect for each other. If he's to go to the Padres, I think that's perfect for Roki Sasaki. Now, obviously, he eliminated the East Coast. I wrote in my Yankee Substack, why I think it's a coast preference. I think it's closer to Japan, less of a flight. He could see family more frequently. I'm sure there might be, like in Yusei Kikuchi's contract with the Los Angeles Angels, there were like stipulations of flights going back and forth. There might be something like that in the contract for Roki Sasaki as well. So on to the next. Where will Pete go? Where will Pete Alonso sign? So it was reported from former Met GM Jim Duquette, that Mets offered that Pete Alonso's camp went to the Mets. This came out, I think, Thursday or Friday morning, that he went back to the Mets with an offer. And we don't know the money. We know it was high AAV. And we know that it was 3 years with opt outs after each year. Or as Ken Rosenthal put it, pretty much after each at bat. Meaning if he has a 2025 season, that's fantastic. He can opt out of that contract and go on to whatever, whatever team's next. He can opt out and stay with the Giants. He can opt out and stay with the Mets. Now, it's believed that the Mets kind of rejected this, and the two sides are at a stalemate. You want my opinion? I'll give it to you. I don't think Pete Alonso goes back to the Mets. I think Pete Alonso and the Mets, I think it's a tough situation for both sides. He's a homegrown Met. He came up through their system, all that fun stuff. But I think the two sides know that they need to separate from each other for their own good. The Mets don't want him. Okay, the Mets made an offer. Pete's camp said no. Then Pete's camp made an offer, and the Mets said no. The Mets don't want him. And I think Pete, frankly, is kind of insulted from the Mets with the way they handled this whole process and the way they handled the Soto negotiation, putting Soto priority over Pete. On the flip side, that's the business side. If you're going to talk the baseball side, there is no one else on the free agent market right now that is better equipped to be a New York Met on the offensive side than Pete Alonso. No one else. Anthony Santander's not a fit the way Alonso is. No one else. No one else. So, these two sides, are they going to come to an agreement? I don't have huge sources here. I don't think they come to an agreement. I really don't. I think that both sides know that they're not going to come to an agreement. I don't think they come to an agreement. I really don't. I think that the Yankees right now, not the Yankees. I think that the Mets know right now that they're not going to come to an agreement, and it's just, they need to make the next move. What's that move going to be? Well, we're going to talk about one that could be on the horizon. Bregman to Boston, question mark. This is an interesting one. I have an article coming out tomorrow morning that has all this information in it about, I'll give a little sneak peek into it, about teams that could be a dark horse to compete in 2025. And, well, it's in the thumbnail. The Boston Red Sox are in that column. And I specifically said in their section that, they're one move away from really giving the Yankees a run for their money in the AL East. And that's the truth. Now, I think and there's bias if you see my background, I think the Yankees are better than any team in the American League. Forget the AL East, the American League. But I think the Red Sox have made meaningful moves this offseason that makes them a legitimate threat. And the next domino to fall for Boston could very easily be Alex Bregman. So Alex Cora, the manager of the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Fest this past weekend, had this to say
we sat
about
in Springfield
Alex Bregman
last year, and everybody's talking about
him.
Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, right? They were still out there. There were guys out there, and you had a lot of teams looking, and a lot of fan bases thinking, all right, this team could change if this happens. Same thing's kind of happening this year, but it's more about offense, right? And Bregman is the name, right? Teoscar Hernandez came off the board, but Bregman's a name that everybody's talking about, not just here. They're talking about him in Detroit. They're talking about him in other places as well, but they're talking about him here. Because even if you've got a history with the guy, what would he do? And I know we're not going to talk about a guy who doesn't have a spot on this team right now, but we all know the guy. We know he's got the winning pedigree. What would an Alex Bregman do for this team?
Well, I can not go into specifics of the free agent, but I think it's a pull hitter that puts the ball in play, and he's a good defender. The intangibles are the intangibles. We all know that. The kid, he's a winner since LSU all the way to the Astros. Obviously we did what we did in 2017. And if you think about it, like he put that in the past, right? Like he kind of like took that team like on his back. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put 2017 on the past, and we're going to be a good team. And, he's been amazing. He's been amazing.
By the way, great job by our editors. Just one left field home run after another. Just full side home runs here. Where would he play? If you or a guy like that? There's a lot of talk about third base. Is Rafael Devers your third baseman?
Rafi Devers is our third baseman. Alex was a Gold Glover at third base, and we all know that. But in 2017, I had a conversation with him, and he needed to play third because he was Correa and Altuve. I always envisioned Alex as a Gold Glover second baseman. His size, the way he moves. It felt kind of like you will be a second baseman, but he has played third base at a high level. So we'll see where he ends up, and we'll see where he ends up.
Okay. So there's a lot to unpack there. So I think Bregman is a good thing. Now I'm also getting communication here on my Twitter that the Yankees are pushing for Luis Ariz. I don't know who the hell this is. La Padalita. I'm hearing that's a reliable source. I'm hearing that the Yankees are pushing for Luis Ariz. Now, it was kind of shot down last week, but this is apparently a legit source. So I'll get on that later. So back to this. So Jack Curry, this is what I was going to get to because Yankees hot stove is currently going on. It's, I guess going on with this. Normally I stream after that for my Yankee fans. Jack Curry just said the feeling Bregman or an Alonso may all get shorter term deals. Now, the Yankees apparently are open to Alex Bregman on a short term deal. So they're someone to watch for Alex Bregman. They will swim in higher waters on AAV rather than the Red Sox. Now, who knows? Does Bregman want to come to the Yankees? I don't know. This is also, that's a team and that's a clubhouse with Cody Bellinger and Aaron Judge now in it that they might not mix too well, especially, Cora just mentioned it in that about the comments after the 17 and certainly the 19 season, and that might not mix well in the clubhouse. So I really don't know how much of a fit that is, but that information is there, that now there is substantial evidence that, the Yankees could potentially be linked to Alex Bregman, but this segment's Bregman to Boston, so we'll get back to that. Now, Alex Cora mentioned that he thinks he could be a good second baseman. The Red Sox, stupidly, are adamant to keeping Rafael Devers at third. Now, I don't know if it's a Rafi Devers doesn't want to move to DH or to first, or they still have Casas, but they can move Casas in a trade and get, bullpen depth from someone. They can 100% get bullpen depth. Boston, you can never have a good enough bullpen. Now, could they go out there and sign a Tanner Scott? I don't know. The Mets have been linked to him. We'll get to that in the relief market section. I really don't know about any of this. I think that Alex Bregman's a great fit for Boston. You just saw in that highlight all the home runs he hit into the Crawford boxes. He's not going to hit those anywhere else. His numbers, unless he signs in Boston, which will be helped with the monster, he'll hit more doubles than homers, I think. His numbers are going to go down significantly and quickly because he's leaving those Crawford boxes. Now, will he adjust his swing to whatever park he plays in? Yes, I've seen him linked to Detroit to connect him back to Hinch. That's great. I think it is more likely, if you gave me the two as an option, I think he goes to Boston over Detroit. I think in a bidding war, I think Boston can be right there. And if him and Cora have had these conversations, God only knows what he said with Hinch, but if these conversations have happened, there's been dialogue there. So that's definitely something to watch out for, Bregman to Boston or Bregman anywhere. Because once again, you know, it's down to 3 teams for Roki Sasaki. Really 2, because it was just reported from Jack Curry, who is very reliable if you're a Yankees person. But he is as reliable as they come. Um, Curry on Sasaki. The Yankees had significant interest. They thought he was only going to a West Coast team because it's closer to Japan. Those were the words used. I don't know if they were told that. I don't know if that's just a feeling him and his agent gave off. But there was a West Coast preference for my Yankee fans, or even if you're a baseball fan that you want to read about this. I have a column on my Yankees section I published yesterday about how the Yankees, since 2014, have not brought in an Asian player. Why that might be. I went through the backstory and the history of Yankees bringing in Asian players and went into, since Otani, why they have been able to, what are some reasons. So that Substack is at Yankees Content Central. So if you want to read that, you can click on the link at Yankees Content Central Twitter. I don't know if it's also on the other Substack. I can restack it. I'm trying to learn that site, but that is there. Okay, so the relief market. The relief market is moving. This is the most interesting part of everything. So we see here in a tweet from Mark Feinstein, this was on Friday night, that Jeff Hoffman, reliever from the Philadelphia Phillies, has signed a 3-year, $33 million deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. There are some incentives that could take it to $39 million per sources. Now, it's very interesting because Mark Bowman put this out yesterday that Jeff Hoffman had a potential deal that was nixed when he failed a physical with both the Braves and the O's before signing with the Jays. Now, the O's failed medicals was reported on Friday night. That was reported right away. The Braves was not reported till yesterday, and I find that interesting. There are a lot of people around the Braves that are criticizing the organization for not making moves to add on. Clearly, they were trying aggressively for Jeff Hoffman. They had a deal with him, and it fell through due to medicals. I find that very interesting. The O's, if you have a finger bite, if you have a paper cut on your finger, they're not going to sign you because their medical staff. It was worded on MLB Network yesterday. They are a very conservative medical staff, where they don't want to take any chances. They don't want to take any risks. And we all remember this whole run around the bush 2 years ago now with Carlos Correa, where he signed with the Mets, failed medical, signed with the Giants, failed medical, and then signed with the Twins, and it's been a Twin since, but has ridden the IL. Jorge Lopez to the Nationals, $3 million plus incentives, according to Ken Rosenthal and John Heyman. So the relief market seems to be moving. The next domino to fall in the relief market is probably the most coveted reliever, Tanner Scott. Scott is as lockdown of a lefty as it comes. He is fantastic. Now, the Mets are reported to have interest, and the Red Sox also do have interest in Tanner Scott. It's interesting to see where he wants to go. Tanner Scott, to me, fits in a place probably more. He probably fits more in Boston. Now, as a lefty, it's a little bit tougher to pitch in Fenway as a lefty because of the monster. Whereas in Yankee Stadium, it's easier to pitch as a lefty because it's deeper in left and shallower in right. So there's that factor. City Field, it's, park factor of City Field as well. I don't know if he's going to be money hunting. I don't know if he's going to take a shorter deal. I don't know what the deal is, but the relief market's moving, and these relievers are getting paid. These relievers are getting paid this offseason, and it's time that they do. Baseball now has relied on bullpens more and more frequently. Teams like, I remember in the postseason, right after they got eliminated, AJ Hinch went on MLB Network, and they were asking him about the way he used his bullpen and did bullpen games. And he said something along the lines of, this is a very inventive way to pitch a game. You can match up to everyone specifically. I don't like that. I like the traditional. You have a starter come out for 5 to 6 innings, and the bullpen takes it from there. That's just the kind of baseball mind I have. Now, not every team works like that. Not every team's going to operate like that. I don't control it. What I am saying is bullpens have been used so reliantly, especially Tanner Scott is a closer. He's a lockdown closer. He would fit, I think, better in Boston because Aroldis Chapman, though he could still throw 103, he's getting old. He's been up for how long now since he debuted with Cincinnati? I remember when the Yankees had him 10 years ago. I remember that. So, he's obviously been around for a while now. He's going to start to age. He had some not so great appearances last season for the Pirates. I think it's still a great move for Boston. I think it's a great move that Boston has him in that bullpen. But I think if they can add Tanner Scott to be the ninth inning and you give Chapman the eighth inning and you have whoever it's going to be, what, Giolito, I don't know who in that Boston bullpen it could be for the seventh inning. You get someone for the seventh, then you go to Chapman, then you go to Scott. Similar to how the Yankees have it set up right now, where they will probably go to. I mean, they could go to Loizaga once he's healthy, or Cruz, and then Weaver, and then Williams, and you're set up. Your starter goes 6 strong. You're locked down bullpen. That's what teams are trying to do. That's what teams like the Toronto Blue Jays did here. Now, the Blue Jays have come out and said that Hoffman is their closer. Jordan Romano was non-tendered by the team in late November and later signed with the Philadelphia Phillies. So they pretty much swapped closers. So it's kind of ironic. But as for the rest of the relief market, I think Tanner Scott has a better chance of probably going to Boston than he does to the Mets. Money talks, obviously, and we all know Steve Cohen has, infinite pocket. Oh, and the family. Everyone loves the family aspect of the Mets. You cannot forget that. You cannot undersell the family aspect of the Mets team because they just make everyone feel so welcome. They're the perfect place to go if you like to not win, but be a family. It's the perfect place. So that's all I have for now. Now I'm hearing some other things that are coming through my phone right now. Um, so there are top paper in Venezuela, that one that I mentioned before, that the Yankees are still talking to arise. Um, there is now substance, I guess, linking the Yankees to what's his face? To Bragg. I don't I don't think a deal gets done there because I think there's bad blood. So I wouldn't sweat it, but I think it's interesting though that dialogue could be there. The Yankees and Bragg could also get very desperate, which is what I think the most likely scenario is both teams get very desperate heading into spring training, and Bregman's team doubles down and was like, all right, we'll take your deal. That's what I think is most likely. So if you are a baseball fan, be sure to like and subscribe. Uh, Follow me on social media. I give updates on not just MLB, I also give it on the NFL. Um, but thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and I will see you next week. Have a great week.